welcome to the third installment of the Career Speaker Series featuring the director and representatives of the Sunrise Day Camp in Pearl River, New York. Okay, welcome, ladies. I am so excited to have so many members from the Sunrise Day Camp in Pearl River, New York here this evening, and I am going to allow each one of them to introduce themselves. Olivia, since we had the first contact, I'm going to allow you to go first, and then we can just kind of go around the room.
So thank you so much for allowing us to be here tonight. My name is Olivia. I am the director at Sunrise Day Camp in Pearl River, New York. Just a little bit about me. I started at camp as a counselor in 2016 and completely fell in love with the mission and the kids and just everything about Sunrise. And I knew I could never leave, hence why I'm still here. So I'm really excited to be able to share some information about Sunrise with you tonight.
Okay, awesome. And I'm just going to go clockwise here. So Isabella, you're next.
Hi everyone, my name is Isabella. I was a former camper at Sunrise, and then I was a staff member, and now I'm one of the unit heads for the summer, and I'm really excited to be here and talk to you guys about my experience with Sunrise and how it's really life-changing for the kids who come to our camp.
Okay, awesome. Ariana?
Hi everyone, I'm Ariana. I'm the registrar at Sunrise Day Camp in Pearl River. I actually started last year. I took over the role coming out of school and kind of coming out of the medical world, going into nursing school. So I could tell you a little bit about my experience and how it shaped my point of view, especially in a medical capacity.
Awesome. And last but certainly not least, Abby.
Hi guys, I'm Abby. I started at Sunrise back in 2019. I was a volunteer, and then I became a counselor and a unit head. So I love Sunrise, and I'm excited to share my love for it with you all.
Okay, awesome. So, Olivia, I am going to allow you, when you reached out to me, I researched the program and I was so excited and thrilled with what it is that you do. But why don't you explain to the audience what Sunrise Camp is really about?
Of course. Can I share my screen? Because that's all part of the presentation that we prepared.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. So let me share my screen. Okay. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, great. So we are Sunrise Day Camp in Pearl River, as we talked about before. This is just what we will be covering tonight throughout this presentation. So we'll talk about who we are. We'll, again, reintroduce ourselves as the team. We'll talk about the importance of Sunrise, what a typical day in the life of being at Sunrise looks like, the importance of health and safety at Sunrise, how you can get involved working at camp, and fundraising opportunities as well. And also we will each go into what camp means to us and how it has shaped our future careers. So Sunrise Day Camp is the world's first and only full summer day camp for children with cancer and their siblings, provided completely free of charge. Our campers' ages range from 3.5 to 16 years old. And our camp is the second largest camp, and we are located at the Henry Kaufman Campgrounds in Pearl River, New York. Sunrise was first founded in 2006, and their main camp is out on Long Island. And since then, we have, I believe, 13 camps around the country, and we are continuing to grow. And for my team, if there's anyone who wants to jump in and say something, please just jump in and interrupt me, because there's a lot that we could talk about Sunrise.
Okay, I have a question for you, Olivia, because you mentioned you have about 13 locations. Now, we kind of restricted this to the New York, New Jersey area, but there are other opportunities because once this goes on YouTube, people in other places will see it. So can you list, I don't expect you to remember all 13, but if you can just list a couple of locations where you are.
Yeah, definitely. So, like I said, we are in Pearl River. There is one on Long Island in Wheatley Heights. There is one on Staten Island. There's one in Philadelphia. There's two in like the Baltimore, like Washington, D.C. areas. There's one in Atlanta. Um, let's see what else. Hmm, there's one that's going to be opening in California this year. And then we have three in Israel and one virtual camp. So I don't know if that equals 13, but we are getting to the number 13. I know that.
Okay. I'm probably going to ask you about the virtual camp if it's not already in your presentation, because I'd like to learn about that one. But okay, go ahead now.
Yeah, definitely. I could talk about it now because it's not in this presentation. So our virtual camp is for campers who are not in like the geographical area for camp, or they are just too sick to attend camp. I'll talk about it later on in this presentation that all of our campers have to be medically cleared before they can come to camp. So if a camper is hospitalized or they just received a bone marrow transplant where they are in isolation, they still have the opportunity to attend camp, but it's just in a virtual way instead of the in-person camp.
Okay, thank you.
Of course. Okay, so we're going to introduce ourselves again. So like I said, my name is Olivia. I am the director. I am also a former unit head and a former counselor. We have Ariana, who is our camp registrar. We have Abby, who is on the call with us tonight. And it says United Head, but it's supposed to be a unit head. And then she's also a former counselor. And then we have Isabella, who is also a unit head. She's also a former counselor and a former camper. So the mission of Sunrise is to bring back the joys of childhood to children with cancer and their siblings worldwide. Sunrise accomplishes this through the creation of and oversight of welcoming inclusive summer day camps, year-round programs, and in-hospital recreational activities, all offered free of charge. So for anyone who has ever been diagnosed with cancer, they live in a world that's very isolated. They have to really be careful about who they're seeing because their immune systems are compromised. And they really just miss out on a lot because their treatment now dictates their life. So when our CEO when he founded Sunrise, he kept all of this in mind to create a really safe environment for our campers that it wasn't a danger for them to come to camp. And to talk about our year-round program, so we do year-round programming. So we do reunions every few months for our campers. And we also have an in-hospital program called Sunrise on Wheels that allows for volunteers to go into the hospitals on the inpatient and outpatient oncology floors to do arts and crafts and play games with the children there that are receiving treatment. Okay. And of course, why are we important? Even though we all know why we are important, but we provide a safe environment that allows our kids to be kids. Simply put, when our campers are diagnosed with cancer, their childhood is essentially ripped away from them. So allowing them to come to camp, they really get to enjoy themselves without the fear of risking their health or their siblings' health. And another thing that I find really important, a lot of our siblings, like a lot of people don't think of the siblings, they think of the child who has cancer, but the sibling is just as important, and their feelings are often pushed to the side because the parents or the caregiver's priority is on the child who has cancer. So having the siblings come to camp as well allows them to also be kids because they're missing out on play dates and having their parents come to their school functions. So camp is for everybody, which we love so much. And Isabel, I don't know if you want to touch upon this because you understand what it is to be a sibling.
Yeah, I can talk a little bit about it. So I am the eldest daughter in my family, and I'm also the sibling of a child who was diagnosed with cancer. And a lot of people refer to us as like the glass door children, essentially because we're looking from the outside in and our parents are kind of looking right through us. The experience that Sunrise is supposed to bring back to us is that we are just as important as our siblings in this space. We exist with the same amount of nurturing and love as our siblings get. So Sunrise is supposed to kind of like allow us to exist in a space where we don't have to worry about our siblings. We don't have to worry about, being quiet for our parents. It's kind of a space where you can run wild and there are other people basically in charge of taking care of you and like allowing you to flourish in that environment without you having to just be carefree.
Thank you. Okay, so day in the life. So I like to say that although we are a medical camp, we operate as a totally normal day camp. So we have all the activities that kids love to do at camp. So you'll see arts and crafts, drama, photography. We have a brand new playground that was just installed. We have a treehouse. So if anyone is familiar with Treehouse Masters, he came to our camp and built the treehouse that we have. We have martial arts. We have all types of sports. We have swimming, and we go swimming every single day. We have boating, which is a unique activity that is exclusive at Pearl River. We have music, and then we have STEAM, and we have yoga. And there's just, like I said, we try to operate as normally as possible with just some safety modifications. So instead of using a really hard ball for sports, we use a softer ball just to make it a little safer for our campers.
Olivia, I do have a question for
Yes.
you. When you talk about siblings, and that's great, is there any restriction on the number of siblings that can participate?
There is not. So we have very large families who come to camp, and every single one of their siblings are allowed to come, as long as they are under the age of 16 and over the age of 3.5.
Okay, awesome. I thought of that question because, yeah, my neighbors across the street have 7 kids. So
So we also have really special events that you would find at a regular day camp. We have Color War, as you can tell from the picture here. They're decked out in red because they're on the red team, of course. We have the circus that comes. We have prom, and it has become a fan favorite, camper favorite, and even counselor favorite at camp, where everyone comes dressed up, and it's a regular prom. It's so fun. We have the carnival, and then we also have a talent show as well. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about the health and safety of our camp. So campers they have to be medically cleared to attend camp. So we're never going to have an instance where a child is too sick to be at camp, because we don't have the means to take care of them and cater to their needs that they have. Our wellness center is staffed by 2 or more medical personnel every day. And this is just talking about how we can help create a healthy and safe environment. So we have frequent wiping down of equipment with Clorox wipes. We are always washing our hands, and we have Purell stations everywhere throughout camp. And we actually encourage our staff members and our campers to stay home when you are sick. It's probably one of the only jobs in the world that encourages you to stay home when you're feeling sick. And we actually give 2 paid sick days to ensure that our campers are staying safe and our other staff members are staying safe as well. So I'm just going to go into some ways to get involved, especially for those who are under 16 years old and are really interested and want to get involved with Sunrise. So the number one thing is obviously working at camp. Number 2 is hosting fundraisers. So we have a lot of students who bring Sunrise to their school and they host fundraisers. We have a walk in the fall, and we have a lot of students who come volunteer at the walk just to help set up. And then going off of that, we have them create a walk team. So they get their community of their family, their friends, and they create a walk team and raise money for Sunrise. And we'll go over this later on in a little bit. So just a little more information about working at camp. Our dates for this summer are June 27th to August 16th. So we are a full summer 8-week program. We have 4th of July off, and there's some mandatory training dates in the month of June that really prepare staff to work at camp. The last thing we want is for a staff member to feel unprepared going into the summer. So we spend a lot of time really going over team building and role playing and the policies at camp, just to make sure that they are fully prepared for the summer. We do require a 4-week commitment. So if someone is interested in volunteering, they have to do 4 consecutive weeks. And if they are interested in being a paid staff member, they have to work the full summer. And the minimum age is 16 years old. It's great experience, and we are currently hiring. So we are currently hiring for counselors and specialists. So counselors are with the group the entire day for the entire summer, and specialists plan activities and teach those activities to campers. So we have a sports specialist, an arts and crafts specialist, and things like that. So they are seeing multiple different groups throughout the day instead of just sticking with one group.
Okay, the camp itself starts June 27th, or is that when the training starts?
That's when the camp starts. So we are still finalizing our dates, but all the sessions are usually on a Sunday in June.
Those are the training sessions or on a Sunday?
Correct.
Okay, no, because I'm thinking that's close to when school ends, so it would be a little bit difficult for the upper high school students. But okay, I get it. That makes sense.
Okay. And then this is just some ideas for fundraising at school. So you can have a school-wide fundraiser, a Go Gold week. So I like to think about doing this in September during Childhood Cancer Awareness Month because the saying is to go gold. So that's creating a week worth of activities and fundraisers. I know if anyone's familiar with Penn State, they do a Thon marathon or a Thon dance event where they dance for, I think it's like 36 hours or a crazy amount of time. Obviously, that's crazy to do, especially as a high school student. But creating something on a Friday night just to get people out and to learn more about Sunrise is great. And also sports tournaments. So we had 2 staff members this past summer who created a sports tournament and they raised money for Sunrise at their sports tournament. So taking Sunrise with you. So you learn so much more than you really think while you're working at Sunrise. You learn communication skills because you're constantly communicating with your campers, with your co-counselors, with your unit heads or your supervisors. You learn leadership skills because you are the leader in that group. You're the role model. You learn collaboration skills because you're constantly working with your co-staff to make sure that the group is running effectively. You learn patience because for anyone who has worked with kids before, they know how tiring it can be and how sometimes kids can be a little difficult. So it really teaches you patience. It teaches you a lot of empathy because you understand what your campers are going through and you want to be there for them. It teaches problem solving because things aren't always easy, especially at camp. Problems come up and it really makes you think to find the best solution. And networking. I always like to say networking because you never know who you're going to meet while you're at camp. Okay, and then let Sunrise inspire you. So there are so many different career opportunities to go into after you work at Sunrise. So you can go into the healthcare field, you can go into social work, education. So as a counselor, as a specialist, you're essentially an educator while you're at camp. So it's really preparing you to go into that education field. Business, and a lot of people think, how is business supposed to help me? Or how is Sunrise supposed to help me with business? You're learning those essential skills that you need to be in the business world. Like you're learning communication and collaboration and basically learning how to manage an effective team. I know a lot of people also think engineering. I actually have a staff member who has been with us for a few years who is actually interested in going into biomedical engineering from Sunrise so he can make prosthetics for kids who are battling cancer. We also have a staff member who is interested in law, who wants to be a child rights advocate because of her time that she has spent at Sunrise. You are understanding psychology. You can go into like a therapist role because you are problem solving with your campers and doing behavioral management to really just enhance the group. Human resources is a great thing because you're learning just how to talk to people. And then child life, you could be in the hospital with campers who have cancer or just pediatrics in general because you are making their time while they're there just a little bit easier, just like we do at camp. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second so I can pull up this video. Okay. Open this. Sorry, give me 1 second. So sorry, my computer is just taking its time to load this video.
That's okay. I know the weather's a little unsettled, so we will wait.
Okay, so while that is loading, it's just doing its little advertisement thing right now. So this video that I'm showing is about a former staff member who was just really inspired after he worked at Sunrise, and he actually created his own nonprofit based on his business degree that he was getting and wanted to make a difference in the lives of children with cancer.
Okay, awesome.
Okay. Let me share this. Okay. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, it seems to be loading. There we go.
Okay, perfect.
A college student from Rockland County is organizing a special benefit today, and as News 12's Kirsten Rosati reports, it's all for kids with cancer.
Ethan Dowie of Pearl River is only 21 years old and not even out of college, but he's set on making a difference. Despite a busy schedule at Rider College as a student and Division I athlete, he decided he wanted to help those less fortunate and volunteer at Sunrise Day Camp, a year-round program for children with cancer.
I went there kind of thinking like, oh man, this might be a gloomy place, but it just ended up, changing my life instead of me changing theirs. So I just wanted a way to give back to them and really help them out.
Dowie formed his own nonprofit organization which holds sporting events to raise money for children with cancer and put together this track meet, his first fundraising event.
I came here because I have a lot of family members that have cancer, so I just want to help in any type of way.
Friends like Stephen Ashen quick to sign up. Ashen says he's impressed at what his friend is doing.
So I'm just proud if I want to support him in any way.
Dowie is confident word will spread about this event and it will grow every year.
Although this one might not be able to donate a ton of money, I think as we move forward, I'll just be able to, keep donating, and eventually it's really going to start adding up and they'll be able to make the camp just so much better and a nicer place too.
In Pearl River, Kirsten Rosati, News 12.
So now I'm going to go back to sharing my screen.
Now, what year did he start that?
He started, I believe he started in 2019, I want to say.
Okay, so it was pre-pandemic. Okay, awesome.
Yes. Can everyone see my screen again?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now it's my turn to inspire you. So as I said before, I love Sunrise more than anything. I started as a counselor in 2016, just looking for a summer job. I always knew I wanted to go into the medical field, but just didn't know in what capacity. I dabbled with going to medical school, becoming a nurse, going into be a PA or a PT. I really just had no idea where I wanted to go, but I just knew that it was with kids and in the medical field. My uncle passed away from prostate cancer in 2015, and it was just a miracle that I found Sunrise, that it was a way for me to give back to the kids who were undergoing the same treatment as my uncle did. And like I said, I just could not find myself doing anything else during the summer. I know a lot of people think that working at a camp, when you get older and you're like, you got to find something real to do. It's not a real job. But in my experience, Sunrise is a real job. It's truly a magical, life-changing experience. And I only wish that everyone would see it as not just a summer job, not just something that you do just to put on your resume. It's something that makes you a better person. And in this picture, it's actually Isabella and I. It's the picture all the way to the left. So as you can tell, the two of us have been around for a very long time. So Sunrise has actually inspired me to go to nursing school. So I am in nursing school right now, and I have hopes and dreams to become a pediatric oncology nurse based on the experiences I had at Sunrise, and just it really just shaped me into the person I am today.
Okay, that's fabulous. I mean, it truly seems to be a life-changing experience. And you made a good point before, about networking, which is so important because you just never know the relationships you make as a young person often carry throughout your entire adult life, and some of these people become mentors and will support you in whatever career path you choose, whether it's medicine or law or architecture, engineering. So it's really important just to keep an open mind and embrace the possibilities.
Absolutely. And also, like, look at the smiles on myself and on the kids in the pictures. You can just tell those are genuine smiles. Those are not forced smiles because there's a camera in front of you. Like, you are there and you are so happy while you're there. So Isabella, I'll let you take over.
Hi again. So my name is Isabella. So actually I was a camper. I was a camper here at Sunrise Day Camp Pearl River when we opened up. So I got to see the camp at its like bare bones, when we were less than 100 campers total. And I remember getting off the bus on the first day and being like, I don't really know what I'm like doing here. I grew up, my younger sister was diagnosed with cancer when I was 7. And our social worker was kind of like, hey, there's this place that is opening up in New York. We think you guys might be interested. I come from a very protective family, being Latina and Arab. Like, we just have very different ways of, you don't send your kids off to summer camps in my culture. So my mom was very hesitant about it. And when they sent me, I have gone back every year since. Olivia was one of the people that I met while there when she was a counselor. So I can speak firsthand on the impact that counselors have on, the kids that go here. I remember coming from being at home where all the attention was like kind of on my sister. I didn't really know like what my role was going to be at camp. I thought it was going to kind of be the same thing, but at camp I genuinely got to have like experiences that kids had. I got to be silly. I got to do things that got me in trouble sometimes. I really got to just experience what a childhood was supposed to look like. And I ultimately made the decision to come back as a staff member, which I think everybody who knew me as a camper knew I was going to do. I came back as a staff and I've come back every year since. I now attend Harvard. Sunrise was one of the reasons that the things I spoke about on my application, and one of the things that has stood out to alumni that I currently still have relationships with. And I have, talk about bringing awareness to childhood cancer all the time. I'm now back again for another summer as a unit head. So I've been here for I think we're at summer 11 or 12 at this point, but it really just goes to show that you build genuine connections. I'm really big on working with the older kids. So all of the pictures here are our 8th and 9th graders. They play a really special role because I don't think people sometimes think of the older kids when they think about summer camp, but these kids are just as impactful as any kid you're going to meet at this place. Seeing the smile on their faces, their hugs that we get to share with them, just being a part of their lives is just such an inspiration and such a privilege. And I'm so happy that I get to come back every year and be a part of this place and continue to just have a great time.
That's awesome. And you mentioned an interesting point before, that you're Latina and Arab. So how does the camp incorporate cultural differences? Particularly I'm thinking with food and things like that. Do you make provisions for those that need halal meals or kosher meals or those types of things?
So at our camp, we actually we don't provide our campers food. We have like things that are like snacks and things like that that follow like certain restrictions and things like that. But our campers bring food to camp. We have like certain restrictions, like they can't bring peanuts or anything with nuts and things like that, just to keep kids safe, because it's like one of the number one allergens in the country. But kids can bring whatever they want to eat for the most part. Our kids love to see their friends bring in different kinds of food. We actually have a very safe environment at camp. I remember I used to bring food that was like I thought was going to be different than my friends, and they embraced it just like anybody else would. Kids, for the most part, like people say they can be mean, but our kids are exceptional. They're always so kind. They love each other so unconditionally. And as somebody who grew up with cultural foods and things like that, I was never a problem at camp.
Okay,
Yes.
thank
And
you.
going off of that, all of our campers have different needs, whether it's the religious needs or a specific diet they have to follow. So we allow them to, and we encourage them to bring their own food, because it allows them to eat something that they will actually eat and give them energy throughout the day, compared to us serving something that maybe they're not so either familiar with or they don't like, and then they don't eat, and then they don't feel well after that.
Right. No, that makes perfect sense. And because there are so many allergies, my daughter developed an allergy to soy in adulthood. So she didn't have it as a child, but she got it in adulthood. So there are just so many allergies between peanuts and almonds and yeah. We seem to be an allergy society these days. I don't know how that happened, but
Yes.
so that's really smart that kids are allowed to bring their
Yes,
meals from home.
definitely. All right, now we have Abby.
So I'm Abby. As you can see from my pictures, opposite of Isabella, I work with the little kids, so the youngest 2 or 3 age groups. My first summer I actually worked with kids going into 3rd grade, then kids going into 4th grade, and then I moved down to the really little kids. Sunrise has totally changed my perspective on life and what I want to do. I went into like high school thinking I wanted to go into business, and that's kind of what I was hoping for college. And then my junior year, I took a psychology class, and I had heard about Sunrise, and I was like, oh, I'll give it a try because I went to day camp as a kid. And I've been there ever since. I don't want to go into business anymore. As Olivia mentioned, child life is one career that people go into. So I'm actually starting school in September, plan to start school in September, to get my master's in child life. And I'm going to be volunteering in June at Montefiore in the Bronx. And then I'm going to go back to Sunrise to get to see my campers again as a unit head. And then this September, I'll go back to volunteering. But I didn't really even know what child life was before starting to work at Sunrise. And now I can't imagine myself doing anything else. I mean, I brought so many people from my town. My family's super involved. My brother came to work one summer, and it's really just changed everything for the better. And I wouldn't want to go anywhere else. So.
Okay, that's awesome.
Everything else is pretty
For
much
those
said.
that may be listening and are uninitiated, can you explain what child life is?
Yeah, so
In terms
basically,
of,
it's in simplest terms, it's someone who's there similar to a nurse but doesn't do all of the medical things. So it's there to like reduce anxiety and stress for the kids when they're about to go through procedures or help the parents out. It's basically also a liaison between doctors and patients and parents. So you will go in and prepare them for a procedure in like child-friendly terms, or prepare them for amputation or treatment or anything like that. And it's your whole job is basically you want to make this a smooth process and as easy and as comfortable as possible for the children and their families. So that's the general gist.
okay, that's great. As long as we're on that point, and excuse me because I need these to be able to read. There's a question, how do you balance meeting the emotional needs of both camper and the siblings? So that's later on in your presentation. You can address that, or if somebody wants to take that now, but Abby's little discussion made me want to remember that question.
Yeah, definitely. You can talk about it now, and I don't know whoever just cut off. You can continue and then I'll on to that. Or
I was just gonna say, for the really little kids, there's like sometimes where they'll try and like express to you how they're feeling, but some of them don't know they're sick, so we don't really bring that up in conversation unless they come to you first and talk about it. But I would say, like, for the little kids at least, they often don't really know what's going on, so they don't express their like stress or anything. I mean, the ones that are in active treatment will say like, "Oh, I don't feel well," or something like that. But if it's their sibling, the parents like often don't tell them all the details because they are again only like 3 and 4. Um, but I would say for the older people, I think maybe Olivia or Isabella could speak on that more.
Yeah, for the older kids, as somebody who was also an older kid at camp and now is on the staff end, a lot of it is that our older teenagers tend to steer away from the conversation. They are in an era where like they're too cool for school. They don't want to bring attention to anything that they feel might make them different, even in a space where they know they're sharing an environment with that other people understand. When they do come to us with the conversations, a lot of it is they don't want some like big inspirational speech from us. They just want a listening ear. They want somebody to say, you know, I hear you, I see you, I understand you. And then in 2 seconds, they'll be on to the next topic, telling you about something that like is completely unrelated. So for a lot of it is just knowing like what they need from you and playing that role rather than like, you know, it's an everyday conversation. I think maybe last summer the conversation came up maybe like once or twice and it was from the same kid. And even then, like, it was very casual. It wasn't in a bigger sense. I think our older kids are more aware of things. And because of it, they're less likely to like bringing it up. And when they do, they're bringing it up with each other. They're making a joke or it's like a very quick stop and shop. Like, I'm not going to spend too much time on it. So a lot of it is just playing it by ear and understanding like what that camper needs at that moment.
Okay, thank you.
And also to go off of that, so we approach each camper as not all like, what am I trying to say? One size does not fit all. All of our campers have unique needs, and we approach each camper with the idea that their needs are going to be different than another camper that's there. So instead of doing very broad statements, we really try to get to know the camper first before we do things, because we want to make sure that we're helping them in the best possible way instead of just like validating their feelings and just moving on. Because most of the time, especially for the siblings who are not getting enough attention or as much attention at home, they act in certain ways where it might not be like common for them to do, but because of what they're experiencing at home, they kind of act out at camp. And we try to make sure that we are really listening. And this is going off of what everyone else has said too, that we are just a listening ear to like for our campers. And then going off of what Abby said, so we don't talk about cancer while we're at camp. Of course, we are going to have the natural curiosity that our campers are going to bring it up. But we as staff members, we don't talk about it because we don't think about cancer while we're at camp. We don't treat cancer. We don't do anything with cancer. We are just a camp for children to give them their childhood back because they were affected by cancer. And that we'll go into that during orientation to talk about how to kind of navigate those conversations that might happen at camp. We do a lot of role playing, as I said before, just to prepare our staff members for those conversations, just in case they do come up. But cancer is like not typically mentioned at camp. Like I said, we're just camp. That's what we are. That's what we're there for.
Okay. Question about orientation is, does it take place at the same time for everyone? Are the staff and the volunteers trained together, or is that done separately?
Nope, everything is done together. We do have a new staff orientation just for new staff members to come together and basically build the foundation of Sunrise and just get like the, like I said, the foundation to understand what Sunrise is and what we do. And then we incorporate everyone together so we can actually do some team building and role playing and stuff like that to learn how to approach the summer.
Okay.
Oh, and I just remembered this. I forgot to mention this earlier, but transportation is provided. So if someone is, 16-year-olds, some 16-year-olds can't drive yet. So if someone's interested, they can still work at camp because we do provide transportation, and also gas is expensive. So we're definitely there to make sure that people can get to camp if they want to get to camp.
Okay, and that is for both volunteer and staff?
Correct. So volunteer and staff they're the same for us. We never, because they don't have different job descriptions. If you are a staff member, you are either paid or volunteer, but you are considered technically, you're still a staff member. You do the same role as a paid counselor versus a volunteer member, staff member.
Okay, and typically how many counselors do you have for? Because I think, oh, she dropped off now. But I think someone mentioned before that the camp started at 100 kids. So how many do you anticipate having this summer?
So camper-wise, we have always had around 300. And actually, Ariana, do you want to answer this question since you work directly with the campers? I was like,
Yes.
I'm not answering this. Let me do it. I'll let you do it.
Sure. I can definitely tell you, since the camp came to be, like they started out with maybe 100 campers, the camp has grown since then, incorporating more hospitals, more families from different areas, going all the way from Westchester to the Bronx, Queens, Manhattan, parts of Jersey, it encompasses everything. So last year we got up to about 302 so far, and this is just the first week of March. We already have 83 applicants at this moment. So we're expecting to be getting a little bit more than about 300 this year, but that isn't saying that's for the entire summer. Since we're very flexible with our campers, with their attendance, because some campers are still in treatment, some campers, they want to go and attend other camps that happen periodically through the summer. We allow that, and we actually encourage them to be able to go out and do those things or take those days off. And just to let us know, and they can come back the next week that they want to and join us for, say, the fun things like prom or Super Mario Day that we had last year, where we saw the counselors get to race around the track.
Okay, so what is the student, the camper to counselor ratio?
So usually we try to make sure that there are, for each age group, about 7 or 8 counselors. So, and that's just a range. Usually there's more. While we get towards like the end of the summer, sometimes it waxes and wanes depending on everyone's vacations, because we do allow for different timings. So I'd say about 2 or 3 to 1 counselor is what we aim to do. That way everyone is just accounted for, but it's a very team setting. So you're never alone with all these kids. You always have your other counselors there, your unit heads, the directors, me, the medical staff. We're all there to be able to support one another and help each other, especially when you're in those panic states where you're just like, there's a lot of kids screaming and I don't know what to do.
Okay, so no one will be left flying by themselves, twisting in the
No.
wind. I didn't think so, but I just wanted that officially on the record. Awesome. Thank you.
Definitely. And we share campgrounds, and we don't interact with other camps, but I would often see the other camps walking by, and they have like a group of like 15 kids with 2 counselors. And I don't know how they do it, because I could not imagine myself as being a counselor having only one other counselor in a group of 15 kids with me. So we really try to stock up on our counselors, just to make sure that they're supported, because we never want to put them in a situation where they feel unsupported. And that also sets them up for failure. If they're not feeling supported, they are scared they're going to do something wrong, and then something does happen and they're going to feel like it's their fault. So our role is to make sure that they always feel supported and they have enough staff in their group to make sure that they are meeting that ratio that Ariana was just talking about.
Okay, awesome.
All right, Ariana, it is your turn.
Hi, so my name's Ariana. I'm the registrar. I'm the lady that's pretty much customer service, go between everyone's person to say, hey, can you do something for me? I'm that person. My experience with camp is very limited as I did start last year, so I don't have the same history as everyone. As you could see, I had my first photo there. It was kind of a really nice moment where I just kind of was happy and satisfied for where I am. And I don't know about anyone that's listening in, but to be at a job, to be in a position, to be on a team where you don't fear that something is going to go terribly wrong, you don't fear that you're all alone, you don't fear what the next day is going to look like, is really relieving. And I came from a hospital setting. So I worked during the pandemic, during COVID, when it was the toughest. I was working on a floor where we were wearing 3 layers of gloves, 3 layers of mask, a shield. So I saw a pretty dark side of the medical field. And I'm studying to become a nurse, similar to our great director, Olivia. And my experience the last 3 years at the hospital really rocked me. It rocked me as a person. But coming to camp and taking on this role, as I'm still studying for nursing, as I'm still going towards my goal, even if I was freaking out internally, coming to camp was such a sigh of relief. Because I wasn't burnt out anymore. I wasn't waking up at 3 and 5 a.m. wondering how many patients I had lost. It was really nice. And being with the kids, seeing them smile, seeing the counselors interact with them, having that exchange is such a rewarding feeling. And I'm sorry if I'm getting a little too emotional.
No, that's fine. That's fine. That's great. Glad you could find some relief and an outlet from having experienced the height of the pandemic. So it sounds like you found a good soft place to land.
Definitely did.
So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, but now we're just going to take some questions if there's any questions that anybody has.
Okay, I think we did address that one question. As I said, we had some people registered that seemed to have a hard time getting on. I don't see anything else in there right now. I will allow a minute or so to see if anything else pops up. But if there's anything else, while we're waiting, if there's anything else that you'd like, okay, this is really important. If people see this either live or later on YouTube, what is the procedure to contact, to either volunteer or become a staff member? Start a fundraiser. Who does what? Who's the person that they should reach out to?
Yeah, I mean, they can reach out to me and I can be that person, whether they're seeing it and they live on Long Island and I can connect them with the Long Island team, or if they live across the country and they're like, I really love Sunrise. I know there's no camp in my area, but I want to do a fundraiser. They can reach out to me and I can send you our flyers and our emails, or and you can send those out to the people who are interested.
Okay.
But
all right.
Also, we do have a website. So if someone's interested and they don't want to wait to hear back from you, they can go to Sunrise Day Camp. They can just Google Sunrise Day Camp and it'll bring them to the webpage, and then they'll be able to pick their camp that they are interested in and either apply from there or just get our emails to reach out to us from there.
Okay, awesome. And I think if I haven't lost my technical savvy, at the end of this video, I'll post a card of that on there so they can go directly at the end of the video and do it that way. Let's see. Okay, I do not see anything else. Any other questions other than that one about the emotional needs? I think you ladies did a great job on really presenting the camp and what it's all about, and I think you kind of guessed at what a lot of what people would have asked anyway. So I think you did a really great job on taking care of that. This has been really awesome because this is one of those things as part of the career speaker series, I usually have one or two individuals talking about a specific field, whether it's meteorology or cybersecurity or whatever that is. But this is an opportunity to encompass so many different careers. And it's great to hear how this camp impacted you, and for some of you there was a change in career plan. So this is it's really important, I think, for young people to know that, I think this is an overused term, but life is very fluid, and although you may have been passionate about something when you were 7 or 10, 15, yeah, then when you start getting to those slightly bigger numbers, your perspective has changed for whatever reason. There are all sorts of things that can alter that perspective, and just be open to the experience and changing directions, because that's usually ends up the best way to go, rather than sticking with what you said. Well, I said I was going to be a lawyer. But no one says you have to be. Why don't you do something that makes you happy? So this is really great in that we've been able to talk about careers. You can have a career at Sunrise forever, I guess, if you want, or you can start there and then do other things as well. So this is a perfect segment. So I really appreciate you ladies coming on. It's okay. Technology jumps in on everyone. It's fine. Don't worry about it. So I thank you so much for reaching out to me, Olivia, because this has been great, and I will try to get this up as soon as possible. As you know, I've kind of been sidelined with a little bit of college financial aid mishaps, but I will get this up as soon as possible. As I said, I will try to put the card up there at the end of the video, so people who are viewing it will know how to contact you or contact the other camps that are across the country. So if anyone wants, has any last words, now is the time.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you. I thought this was really great, and I really hope we get some staff who are interested.
I'm sure you will. Again, some of the high school seniors are freaking out about other things right now, so they may need to come down from that. So just be a little patient, but I'm sure with your great presentation and everything that you presented, you will have a response from this. So thank you, ladies, so much. Have a wonderful evening.
You too.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right. Bye, everyone.